our Jackie Opel was one of his greatest influence. And today, in the context of this new republic that we have, when we talk about who we are, we talk about things like national identity, we talk about making Barbados best in the world. We're talking about today making Barbados best in the world. And we have, in the context of culture, already a cultural icon that was first class and international. And that should mean something for us as a country, and it should mean something for young entertainers that are coming up. That they can treat and look with confidence. Yes. But you know, when we talk about Jackie, it does get emotional. This morning we were at the amphitheater when we unveiled the new plaque. And I remember, I think it was an emotional moment for all of us as we pulled down that veil and we saw the new mural for Jackie. And it was a poignant moment. Again, I've been saying that in the context of this season of emancipation that we have, that it is built on 3 pillars in terms of allowing us to reflect, to celebrate, but also to be able to look forward. And so that tonight and today, this Jackie Opel Day, I see those 3 things very much intertwined in this story about Jackie. The moment that we celebrate who he was and what he gave, but it also allows us, as well as I said before, a time of reflection. And that reflection should hopefully then propel us to action. Now, that's the importance of reflection, not that it stays there, but it propels us to action. And then that third element of how do we look forward? What is it that we do after we have celebrated and reflect? How do we seek to make sure, as I said before, that it means something going forward? And certainly do want to say to you tonight, you know, just again, and I haven't even heard all of the eminent men and lady on this head table, that it is certainly that, something in the vision of culture that I will turn my mind to, and to ensure that next year, August 27th, we will have a larger, more expansive, and more importantly, deeper conversation in relation to Jackie. And when I say deeper, what I mean is, as I was talking to, again, as Courtney and I was talking, and we were reflecting that when we grew up as young people, what we heard about Jackie is that Jackie was the guy who created Spouge that failed. That was a narrative, I'm being honest. That was a narrative that was told in the context of what we understood. This guy who was Jackie Opel, who tried this thing called Spouge, and it didn't necessarily work out. And there were attempts all along the way, you know, to just try to make it work and for Barbados. That's the narrative that we were told. But that we could now have, in the context, again, of a new republic, in the context of how we are looking forward to reform our educational system, to deepen that conversation and narrative about our cultural identity, that we need to be able to rewrite that narrative and take it outside of this hall and us tonight and those listening, and to make sure that young people are able to understand and appreciate Jackie Opel and what he did and what his legacy means. And that is a responsibility, certainly, that I am happy to be able to commit to in the context of the division of culture, that we will seek as much as we can to be able, like I said, that to make sure that next year that we have a bigger celebration, a bigger acknowledgement of who Jackie was and who he meant. Jackie should be seen almost in the same way that we see Rihanna. Yeah, and what Rihanna has done. Yeah, Rihanna is a star now, but imagine Jackie. David was saying to me that Jackie was credited with, I think it was writing over 700 songs. 700 songs in all different genres of music. Imagine that. Imagine that. And he died at a young age. He died at a young age. Yeah, so I think I've put away the speech. It was a very nice speech. I can tell it was a very nice speech, very well written. But I felt moved, tonight to really, like I said, feel very ill-equipped to speak to, Jackie's life and his history, but to also say that as I stand here as Minister with responsibility for culture, I make that commitment to all of us and to the entire country as well, that we will do more and we will do better. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, for that very heartwarming message on Jackie Opel's Day. Like you said, you delivered it from the heart. You threw the speech away and you just spoke from the heart. That's the best tribute that you can ever give to anybody, a tribute from the heart. Before I introduce this esteemed panel, I have one or two apologies. As you would have seen on the flyer, Jackie Opel's sister, Anita Bishop, was supposed to be part of the panel. I visited her yesterday, and she is not well. So we want to keep her in our prayers. Also, the most honorable Anthony Gabby Carter, he got an injury on Thursday, sort of freak injury on Thursday. So he has to undergo some therapy to get back to where he wants to be. So just keep them in our prayers at this time. Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our moderator, Dr. Marcia Burrowes, and her esteemed panel. Dr. Burrowes, all over to you and your panel.
Oh, I am supposed to do this. Here we go again. One more time. Good evening. I am Dr. Marcia Burrowes, Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts at the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus. I'm glad to see so many of you here, and I will introduce our panel. But first, I want to say this. In preparation for today, I referred to a thesis that literally is this thick. Dr. Elizabeth Watson completed her thesis, the most in-depth research done on Jackie Opel, his life and work in Jamaica, Barbados, throughout the region, his travels to Mexico, Canada, England, etc., etc. And therefore, I want to acknowledge her. I also want to acknowledge her daughter, Miss Kim Watson, who is here with us. Dr. Elizabeth Watson received her PhD in Cultural Studies, which is my department. Dr. Stefan Walcott also received his PhD in Cultural Studies. So we are one family here. Just a few comments. What Dr. Watson points up to us is that there's a lot of misinformation out there about Jackie. And the very first thing I have here, I smiled because I spoke to John about it. There's someone named Mr. Burgess who says that Jackie was born in 1938. Unfortunately, so does the library image outside. Jackie was born in 1937. He was christened in 1938. Someone has published that Jackie was born in Trinidad and Tobago. He was not born in Trinidad and Tobago. He's born in Barbados. And honestly, she tells me if you ask the average Jamaican, they will tell you that he's Jamaican. There's a lot of misinformation out there. On his death, it was reported that Jackie was 29 years old. No, he was not. He was 32 years, 6 months old. But it was officially published, and she wondered where it came from. Maybe the rush of, because he died the 9th of March, and he was buried the 11th of March. So that meant the newspapers had to get things going within a day, and maybe some misinformation. So, Dalton St. Clair Bishop was born on the 27th of August, 1937. He was baptized at James Street Methodist Church on the 30th of September, 1938. At the time, the family was living in Greens Lane, which officially is known as James Street. He attended St. Mary's School. He sang in the Glee Club. And with his team, he won with a composition called Jackie's Road that he continued to sing for many years after that. And he was a member of St. Mary's Church Choir. Let us meet our panel. Panel, I want you to give us a brief introduction. How did you meet Jackie? What's your connection with Jackie? Just a brief introduction. Then we will have a round where we discuss Jackie, the early years. And I'm opening the floor for any member of the audience who may have known Jackie. Not yet, sir, though. That's the second time. I'll say when we have the introduction. Then I want us to look a bit at the death, and I am challenging both ministers of culture because, trust me, I have gone and I've looked and I still can't figure out where it happened. What has happened? They moved the road. They moved the curb. They moved the house, pinpointing the exact place of death. Everyone says, "Ma Marcia, it's," and then it becomes this navigation. Something that we can look at. I am told at some point in time there was a notice there saying this is the spot Jackie died. Seems to be it. Then we can talk to the 70s. We have Desmond Weeks here, etc. And then we can speak to the now, and we have Dr. Walcott here. So I will first introduce you to Richard Stoute, whose biography was sent to me as this. If you can see it, it's an inch long. That is not Richard Stoute's biography, but I will read what he sent us. Richard Stoute, GCM, BSS, winner of the Caribbean Soul Crown Soul King of the Caribbean, 1971, recording artist, 5 albums and 50 singles, former member of the Barbados Tourist Board, former entertainment manager of Barbados Holiday Inn and Tamarind Cove Hotels, founder member of the Opel's vocal group. This is big. Oh, yeah, right.
Thank you very much for your introduction, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I had the good fortune of being a founder member of the Opels. Everyone who reflects back to the early days, the 70s and 80s, the Opels were very, very large. And Jackie Opel used to come to the public convenience where we practice, because we had nowhere else to practice. We practiced in the New Orleans bath. In one section, white people showered, we sang. And Jackie came and joined us one evening. And he fell in love with the group. So he said, "Look, fellas, I have a show at the Barbados Plaza, and I'd like you all to be a part of it." So we were very excited, because we'd never been on the stage before. We had a bassist, we used to call him Lord Jesus. He was a boxer, he was a fisherman, but he never appeared on the stage with us because he said he didn't like wearing shoes. And when we went to the Barbados Plaza that night to perform, we asked Jackie, "But who are these Opels?" Because the poster said Jackie, he said Henderson Braffett and the Opels. He said, "But I name one after me." We didn't understand that yet. I name Opel, so I want to name the Opels. So we were like, okay, so we're the Opels, So so we sang that night. We did Save the Last Dance for Me and Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow and tore the place down. But so that's my first introduction to Jackie Opel. And then he became a mentor to me, where he took me to Bats Rock at a place called the Flamingo Terrace every Saturday evening to sing, to put a couple of dollars in my pocket so I can pass on to my dad to help my brother, my sister, and I. And Jackie would make sure that I get there every Saturday evening to do this. I was about 12 years old. And then I went to Antigua with Terry Prescott, another singer from Barbados, who had a big hit called Sense That Awful Day. And when we got to Antigua to perform, we were told that we could not perform because we didn't have the work permit. And the management of the townhouse was now defunct. So fortunately for us, we saw Jackie Opel in the middle of St. John's, Antigua. He was talking to some people. And when he saw us, he was excited. He said, "What are you guys doing here?" So I said, "We came here to sing, but they told us we can't because we don't have work permits." He said, "Well, that's not a problem. Come with me." And he took us into St. John's, Antigua, in a little tiny house, a wooden house in Antigua, amongst the sheep and everything like that, because there were a lot of sheep in Antigua as you walk the streets. And we went into this room, and he said, "Listen, these guys are from my country, man. They want a work permit. Help them out here for me." And the lady said, "No problem, Jackie." And she came out and stamped 6 months each in our passports for us. We, amazed as we were, Terry and I, we walked with Jackie Opel back through St. John's, Antigua. And he was mobbed by so many people. People came from all over, touching him, reaching out to him. And he was like a king in Antigua. I said, "Well, this isn't happening in Barbados." Well, this one is in Barbados. Nobody looks at him at all. But the people in St. John's that day were excited. And it made me feel that he really belonged to Antigua instead of Barbados. He was very visionary. And he said to me in Antigua that he's going to come back here and he's going to play saxophone on a show. He's going to delight people with his ability to play saxophone. And he also said to me that he thinks that I'm going to make a wonderful contribution to Barbados. He said, "I don't know what it is, but you're going to do something very exciting in Barbados." He visioned that. He visioned the Richard Stoute Teen Talent Contest. And he's 46 years old today. And it's because of his vision. And every time I remember the words he says to me, it encourages me to even do more, to do more. So he lived houses apart from me in the farmhousing area. And we would exchange visits. He'd come and see me. I'd go see him. And then one morning he came to me and said, "There's a singing competition in St. Croix I want you to go to." I said, "So how come you're not going?" He says, "Well, I'm not going. I want you to go. This is a chance for you." This was 1970, and he sent me to St. Croix to represent Barbados. I went to the first competition, didn't place in the competition, and I came back, and he was very annoyed. He said, "No, you can do better than that. I'm sending you back next year." He called Ivan Dance Boys, who was the organizer. He said, "Look, I send him back him next year. He can win this." And I went back and I won by 130 points clear. But unfortunately, he could not enjoy it because he had passed. He lost his life in an accident in Bay Street. Now, we lived very close together, and we used to talk about not being able to drive, and he said that he doesn't care what they say. He's going to drive a car no matter what happens. But he failed his license so many times, but he wanted to drive. To the effect where he had a mobilette, and one day he was riding the mobilette, and a policeman stopped him and said, "Listen, you're not supposed to drive." He said, "But I am driving, I'm riding." Opel would go and stand in Broad Street with his short pants, no shoes, hair not combed. And people would just look at him as though he didn't exist. What is commendable about Jackie Opel is that he didn't worry about image. He dived money in the wharf and things like that. He lived in Chapman Lanes. And I do believe that the reason why Spouge music has not developed is because of where he came from. Barbados is a very origin place. And if you are not from a good family, or you didn't go to school at a big school, or you don't have somebody who's politically involved, you are in trouble. Yeah. And this is what happened to Jackie Opel and his music. That is a real problem. Had anyone else, apart from Jackie Opel, in a better position, did what Jackie Opel did to give Barbados its own music, no one else ever did it. For a man to sit down and give a country his own music, it's commendable. It is, you cannot beat that. But no, they look at it very, very, very soft, only because of where he came from. St. Mary's School, diving money in the wharf, and Chapman's Lane residence, not a well-dressed fellow either. Ken Jones can tell you from the Troubadours, they took him to a hotel to sing one night, and they refused to let him sing because it was Jackie Opel. So as you all can see, I painted that picture to let you see what Jackie Opel was about and what happened to him early in his life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Richard. I do have this as one of the points of discussion. Oh, gracious me. Hello. Yes, I do have this as one of the points of discussion, what we feel, or the opinions from the audience and yourselves as to what happened after his death. But I want to introduce Lord Dayton, who I only discovered today his name is Lord Dayton. We know him as Sach more. But somewhere in the 1960s, maybe 68, 69, he performed as Lord Dayton. Satchmore has the distinction of being Barbados' first professional songwriter and radio and record producer. The profile songwriter has written over 3,000 songs in genres ranging from calypso to R&B. To his credit, he brought Wendy Allen to fame with a string of hits including, but not limited to, Let It Show, Stand By Love, Have a Thing About You, and Here Mr. Blues. I have a thing about you. That's it, yes. One of his most popular hits is Cheryl Hackett's Beautiful and Unspoiled, released on the Best of Barbados Volume 1 album, which also featured another big hit entitled Looking Good, written by Sach and performed by the Escorts. Sach also wrote hits for Richard Stoute, Best Part of My Day. Whoa, that's big. That's big. Yes. Carlin Leacaw, Ann Riley, Michael Thompson, Mitch Springer, the BRC, Tony Grisette, the Troubadours International, the Solid Senders, Patsy Cadet, and several others. He founded the Musicians and Entertainments Guild of Barbados, MEGOB, in 1976, and was its president for the ensuing 4 years. During his presidency of MEGOB, he was successful in securing a special reciprocity agreement with the American Federation of Musicians of America and Canada. That agreement between the two unions allowed local members to travel to and perform in both the USA and Canada. Lord Dayton, Mr. Satchmore. It is a much longer bio, but I am giving all of our panelists a chance to introduce themselves. Introduce themselves and tell us what's your entrance with, what was the entry point with Jackie?
Thank you very much, and good night to all of you. Lord Dayton, I must say, is a name that I have not used since about 1969, when I entered when the country boy came to town in 1968 to perform with the likes of Gabby and Grande. I came and I performed under the name of Lord Dayton. So when I got more into writing and performing with the St. Pebbles and so on, I just decided to use Sash more. And that's the name I've used ever since then. Thank you very much. Oh, Marcia, that was a short bio. That was a short bio from my long bio. Anyhow, let me tell you how I encountered Jackie Opel. I first met Jackie Opel. I didn't have a lot of meetings with Jackie Opel, but I first met Jackie Opel in my mid-teens. And that was around the time when I was, I was writing much earlier. But again, it was difficult for guys or performers from the country to get any exposure into town. A lot of people felt that the country people didn't have a lot of talent in those days. It all came from Chapman Lane and so on and so forth. Anyhow, I had a friend who lived on Colonial Road in this big house where it had Terry Prescott, Chubby, the limber dance and all those guys, okay? So I was at this house one evening and Jackie was there. Remember, Jackie was there and Eric Fly was also there. And we were having a game of cards. And I was always very keen on singing. And in those days, we used to talk about eating a lot of Eclipse biscuits and that kind of give you a crisp, clear voice. And I said to Jackie, this was my chance, I said, Jackie, so tell me, Jackie, what do you do to keep that voice, so powerful and so melodic? He looked at me without blinking and he said, I drink a lot and I smoke a lot. And it was at that point in time that I knew that I would never be a good singer. Because I have a very low tolerance for alcohol. Now, I will tell you that, okay? Very, very, very low tolerance for alcohol. And I remember seeing and watching Jackie at the Globe Cinema. He performed on the Jotex in concert show at the Globe Cinema. And in those days, I had to use a technique to get into those places, because I didn't have any money. So I was, at that point in time, I was enrolled in a college in the United States. And I had an emblem on my blazer, so I would always say, when I go to those shows, I would say, well, I'm performing tonight. And I would always get in, and I would always get backstage. So I got backstage. And I remember when Jackie got on stage, Jackie just tore the place down. And I remember was the MC at the side of the stage signaling Jackie to come off, because Jackie had done about 4 or 5 songs. And somebody said, when Jackie is singing, you cannot get him off the stage. He's like that. So you don't ever ask Jackie to do 1 or 2 songs. But Jackie was really, really on top of the show. So much so that I can tell you, from watching Jackie that night and watching Joe Tex that night, that the only thing that Joe Tex had on Jackie, he couldn't come close in terms of voice, but what Joe Tex had on Jackie that night was microphone techniques. A lot of antics on stage where Joe Tex would just tip the microphone. A few other shows, and I tell you, he was just about the best. But what I also want to say is that, and it's evidence everywhere, that to me, Jackie came on the local scene into music at the wrong point in time in Barbados' history. And that is to say, back in the 60s, we were still searching for our cultural identity. I think there was a lot of denial and a lot of debate in respect to whether or not we had a cultural identity. And so, coming from very, very, very humble beginning, very, very humble background, as Richard had explained, Jackie had a really tough time. Like, not only Jackie, but I would say most of the entertainers who came up at that point in time had a really tough time getting recognition, because most of the musical talent at that point in time were black guys coming from very poor family. And the irony of it is that the parents of these black guys, my mother included, did not want us to get involved in music, because it was widely felt across Barbados that if you had resorted to musical performances, singing, playing, and all of that, that you really didn't have any much education to get involved in anything else, okay? And so your parents discouraged you. I did not have any encouragement from anybody in my neighborhood, all right? And a lot of people, I think, Richard probably tell you, a lot of people with a lot of talent in that particular era did not have any support. So Jackie, coming from a very humble background, okay? The people who were in position to promote Jackie didn't want to do it. because not want to be associated with somebody from, that kind of background. And the people who would have been, the vast majority of people that should have been surrounding Jackie to give him support were more, I believe, were more or less discouraging him because of at that point in time that there was a stigma attached to people, especially Calypso. And that is why I think it was Saddam who said that his mother did not want him to sing Kaiso. Okay? Because if you were singing Kaiso back in the 60s and I think up to the beginning of the 70s and so on, then there was taboo. And I can tell you, who changed that? The Merry Men came on the scene, and they were singing the same thing, the same what people were calling banjo, that we were told that we could not sing, that we should not sing. I think a lot of people had, great talent. So the white boy sang Kaiso. You can now sing Kaiso. You understand? You can now perform. There's something to it. Okay? So Jackie came along at the wrong point in time in our cultural history, and he did not get recognition. And sometimes I want to make, another point I want to make. The point I want to make is that a lot of people up to this point in time have failed to recognize the fact that artistic people, people with a lot of talent, are different, totally different from the average person. And when it comes down to very artistic, very creative people, because they're that different, a lot of people don't understand them, okay? And some artistic people are relatively difficult to control. He was part of that. A lot of people did not understand Jackie Opel, all right? And as a result of that, a lot of people did not want to be associated. People who were in a position to help didn't want to be close to Jackie Opel. And so a lot, not only Jackie, as I've said, but a lot of people at that era would have suffered as a result of the society took to them. And that was, then you had with regard to Calypso and so on, you had people like Plastic Bag and so who came into the scene, and they changed a lot of music. But I can get back to a lot of this here at a later stage. I'll just give, pass to somebody else.
Class and color, folks. Class and color. This is Barbados.
Yeah.
A highly segregated society for most of its existence. And the 60s was not easy, neither was the... Here we go. Right, a highly segregated society for most of its existence, Barbados. The 60s was not easy, neither were the 70s. The impact of the Merry Men and that matter of did they legitimize or it made it okay to sing Kaiso, banjo, no playing a banjo on a Sunday. They're gone through the others, all no so. Desmond Weeks, formerly of the Draytons 2, is a singer, songwriter, performer, and producer of the Mother's Day show, Mom, This One's For You. He also has his own band, the Bridgetown Boys. In Carrington Village, where he was raised, he would serenade the villagers with his singing at the street corner. This period marked the beginning of his career as the lead singer of the Starlights with the late Lou Curtin, and he won many studio party competitions at Rediffusion. He was also a founding member of the Draytons 2. This is Drayton 1. In 1969, Desmond was a member of the Draytons 2, saw a great opportunity to put Barbados on the map, so he joined forces with the late Jackie Opel to push the Spouge beat. The Draytons 2 released their first album, Raw Spouge, 100% Spouge music, in 1973, which was one of the Caribbean's best-selling albums. Desmond toured extensively through the Caribbean and internationally, and I have to say, we're going down Spikes Down. We're going to walk over here. We're going to walk over here with 2 Walcott or 1 cattle. Thank you. Yes. Desmond Weeks.
Thank you.
Your entrance point with Jackie.
Thank you, Doctor. First of all, nothing was wrong with Jackie Opel. Everything was wrong with the people. Because Jackie Opel was a person who was far ahead of his time. He had vision, and he launched the Spouge music, which is a journey. And later on, I will take you on that journey. But I first met Jackie Opel at a place called, it was a hotel in Club Morgan. The name is Club Morgan. I think it's near Rocky, somewhere up there. But I was about 15 years old, and with the same group, the Starlighters, we used to perform at hotels, going around hotels, about 15 years old, where some of the fellas had short pants. Well, I was one with the short pants, and some had long pants. But you know, when you're small and you want to be a man, you want to put on a long pants. So some fellas had the brown pants long and the brown pants short. So the long pants fellas said, we're wearing that tonight, brown pants. So I first met Jackie Opel there at Club Morgan Hotel. And when I was entering, I heard this voice cutting through the music. You know, I thought the Drifters and the Platters and those guys from America used to be singers, you know. I mean, they are great singers. But when I heard Jackie Opel's voice, it gave me goosebumps as a youngster. And when he finished, the white people, or the tourists, they were giving him a standing ovation. The first time I saw it in Barbados. And Jackie came up to us and said, little man, look, you all going there and doing the best. And never give up. Don't care how hard it is. And he left and he gone. Then we had a TV show, CBC TV, and I discovered Jackie Opel spirituality, where before he went on stage, he went and he meditated and he prayed. I saw that. And then he took a can of sweet milk and he put it to his head and he drank it. Yeah. He used to move with the can in his hands. Another thing Jackie Opel used to move with is a pen and piece of paper. Yeah. Maybe that is how he wrote all of those songs. And when you look back at the songs, his lyrics, you will think that some person from university wrote those lyrics. Eternal love. You know, listen to those lyrics. You must be brave and I'll be strong. You know what I mean? And when you listen to those lyrics, you will see that Jackie Opel was brilliant. He was a man that far ahead of the people. And Jackie Opel stood for what he believed in. Jackie Opel believed that if you sing at a hotel, if you sing anywhere, you should be paid. And if you go and complain to Jackie Opel and say, Jackie, I think this happened to Richard. So Richard could testify to this. Richard one time went and told Jackie, man, somebody didn't pay me. And Jackie said, come. And he went, you remember? Where's that? Right. And Jackie went and took out the box with the money and told Richard, take out. This is the man money at the door, you know. He said, take out. Nobody should be unfair entertainers. This is the kind of man Jackie died, and this is the legacy that he lived. Do not, when you're an entertainer, do not stand for anything. When you know you're good, another chance is going to come. If one door closed, another one will be open for you. And then, as Sach said, the Globe, Jackie Opel, Percy Sledge to Jackie Opel, what we will call tear, you know, in Bajan language. Jackie Opel, tear, Percy Sledge. You know, Percy came from Trinidad and Jackie Opel. And one night I saw Jackie Opel got clapped down at the Globe because Jackie Opel took up a guitar and people wanted him to sing the songs that they came to hear. And Jackie Opel took up the guitar and he started singing the Spanish and everything. I don't know what went wrong. But Jackie, the people said, Jackie, calm down. Calm down. We love you, but calm down. If you don't sing these songs, calm down. And Jackie put down the guitar. And I remember some of the lyrics he said. He said, I love you, black people. and he wrote a song on stage right on the spot about black people. This is the power that he had. Now, Jackie Opel was well loved, you know. He was well loved by the roots of the people because Jackie Opel was the first entertainer in Barbados that had a manager, right?
conversation with Spouge Music, then that obviously turned into a different way of looking at him and his work. Yeah, so that was my first interaction with him.
And for those of us who were early, Dr. Walcott students were playing outside, students of BCC and Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts. And that's legacy. That's legacy. So we have a young musician who interacts with Jackie and then is able to pass on his interest to younger generations. I am looking around the room. It's a room filled with musicians. I will allow someone to come from the audience. If you knew Jackie personally, there are various ages here. There's a gentleman who wants to speak. I noticed that someone next to him, I thought Mr. would budge. Yes, sir, 2 minutes. Good day.
With all respect to my mentor here, Sach more.
Microphone, sir.
Sorry, etc., etc.
Microphone, sir. Mike.
Good evening, panel. Good evening, people. Good evening, Barbados. Good evening, Mr.
Good evening.
Peoples, Sach more. My good man, Mr. Stoute. All the people in the panel, Mr. Drennan too. I said not the Drennan too, because my brother there, about as much as Jay Curtis. So, I know about Jackie. What I can tell you about Jackie, when Jackie died in Bear Street, I was a little boy. My doors were Esther, when Jackie coming from the Hilton and the Esther driving. Oh, Esther can be driving Jackie Day. Esther can be driving. I got 2 buckets of always in my arm across. If you come home, you ain't bring one fish. Got your tail. My mom, they hear the singing. Sach more. Mr. Moore, Mr. Norm Bardia, Mr. Sam Pebbles. I going back anytime. Look, my gentleman there. My mom here sitting on the bed. All right. Wow, me to the moon, Jackie. And I go, stick my way, let me stick my you. And I come and hit this one. I'm sitting here with my eyes to the clock, watching the minutes so slowly tick by. Mr. Richard Stoute, put your hands together. You go farther.
All right.
Farther.
Because we have... All right, sir, we're going to have discussions from the whole panel. Thank you. Mr. Stoute told me that this gentleman won the first competition he ran. Yes, Mr. Stoute, this gentleman won your first competition? The over 21 competition. So this is a singer here. Norman, did you know Jackie? Norman Barrows, sir. Did you know Jackie? I see Trevor standing up. So Trevor, come forward, but I thought Norman was going to come on. Sam Pebbles represent. Mr. Barrow, you will follow after and give us a Sam Pebbles insight. Yes. Mr. Trevor Marshall, my mentor from Community College, historian.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. And I have a look at these. This was Reggae Roots, in which Jackie Opel is mentioned on 2 pages. Jazz Music, he's mentioned page 71, and Reggae Explosion. Good. That indicates to you that my connection with Jackie has to do with Jamaica. I think everybody knows that I did first degree in Jamaica and that I swallowed everything that was Jamaican music. But let me say first that the question was if there's anybody who's seen Jackie Opel. I saw Jackie Opel. I saw Jackie Opel performing in Jamaica in 1966. I was a schoolboy. I went to Jamaica as a cadet. There were the law school, Commerce, Harrison College. Our cadets went to Canada, Jamaica, Trinidad. I happened to go to Jamaica with Johnny Tudor, etc. 3 weeks. There I saw the university and determined that I would go there. We schoolboys went downtown, and there was a place called the Silver Slipper. Silver Slipper in Uptown Kingston. It is now New Kingston. And there I saw Jackie Opel singing and performing, and he did everything. He was, people think of him as a kind of free-range baritone, etc. He had a voice range out of this world. But he also sang bass. And he had been with a group called the Scatterlights. The Scatterlights. And the Scatterlights ran from 1964 to 1966. They included Tommy McCook, Lloyd Barrett, Lynn Tate and the Jets from Trinidad, etc. And Jackie, he played every instrument. He played bass, and he also sang. So I have the honor and privilege of seeing him sing in Jamaica, and he was fantastic. And the reason we went to see him is that the Jamaicans were, of course, giving us heat and saying that we were damn little islander. Them now have no culture. Bad Bajans sing London Bridge is falling down. They argued that was our thing. Right, and then we went and saw this man. And he is a man who was considered the Nat King Cole of Jamaica. He was called the Sammy Davis of Jamaica. He won Best Vocalist in Jamaica twice, 1965-66. I was immersed in reggae over the next 6 years or so. I came home in 69, my first vacation from Jamaica. We were night clubbing, because by then, if you're a student, you study and you beat books, and you also go night clubbing. And we went up Bay Street, and there was a place called the Bird Nest. Anybody knows? Remember that?
Yeah,
The Bird Nest.
still there.
The Bird Nest, right. I saw this short little, I said, wait, there's Jackie Opel. What is he doing back down here? And somebody said that he got run out of Jamaica. I said, but anyhow, what I did see him do, somebody said, Jackie, give me a split. You know, you dance to James Brown. So, I mean, this man did 180 degrees. His face that way, 1 foot that way, and the other foot that way. Up to now, I cannot understand how he did it. Right, but that's the thing. I have studied Jackie. I think that Kim Ramsey, is Kim? No, Watson has done the definitive work on him. But I also have done some work on it, and I want to, not by way of boast, but look. This article was written, Stefan, show them what year it was written.
November 1981.
41 years ago, I was the first Barbadian ever to write anything extensive about Jackie Opel, 1,200 words, right? So I have that on my resume. Good. But I want to make some points about Jackie, about the music he created. Spouge. Spouge at first was an amalgam of ska, and the calypso. Right, and it was, and I think the Dayton two-man would tell you, it was an experimental beat. As a matter of fact, when Jackie died, he was into producing something called Jabalaya? Jabé, right. So it had to be improved on. And I think it is Drayton's who improved on it, and we had the unmistakable cowbell, and then you hit the rim, and a jerky beat. Jackie introduced Cry Me a River, You're No Good, You Got to Pay, Your Love is Lifting Me Higher. And as the minister said, quoting David Commichon, it is true, he wrote about 700 songs. But I think his problem was the thematically, he was a rhythm and blues singer, and all of his songs were about love. Because you have to compare him with not with what was happening in Barbados then. Yes, the Merryman came on stream, and the Merryman licked down the place with the Garrett Bunks, and Archie break them up. Straight calypso. Jackie was not into calypso. He was into rhythm and blues, and he sang Eternal Love and all those stuff. He is a confederate, a compatriot, a contemporary of Bob Dylan. And Bob Dylan, I don't think, was a better writer than Jackie Opel. What Bob Dylan wrote, the times they are changing. What else? He wrote a lot of revolutionary songs. Jackie did not write revolutionary songs. He wrote emotional love songs. And therefore, when the new crop of Jamaican singers came on, like Derek Morgan, the Pioneers, the Tenors, Jimmy Cliff, the Gaylords, Bob Marley, so that every mouth can be fed. Oh, ho, 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 oh, ho, me Israelites. Identifying black people with the biblical Israelites. Jackie Opel stuck to rhythm and blues and emotional songs. And that he could not go any further than that because the revolutionary songs, and he came back here into an atmosphere which was decidedly hostile, definitely hostile. But at least I think that if Marley had had a Chris Blackwell, in the same way that if Jackie had had a Chris Blackwell, because you know Chris Blackwell promoted Marley.
Yes, he
and
did.
Gave Marley Duppy Conqueror, Small Axe, etc., and pushed them into the international sphere. I think that is the problem. And I think my biggest point about Spouge, biggest disappointment about Spouge, it did not have a dance.
Yes,
You cannot
Dr. Watson
think
has
of
said
any
that.
popular music in the world, right?
Without
the
dance.
dance. Think of rock and roll, rock around the clock, right? Huh? Think of the ska,
Yeah.
think of rock steady, think of reggae. All of these musics are dance music.
Yes.
And I remember that after Jackie died, that Ronnie Roach of Rontana, 4 years after Jackie died, he is going to create a Spouge dance. And the Draytons never created a Spouge dance. I think they did a shuffle. They did a shuffle, right, Desmond? Huh?
Trevor, I'm going to invite you to come back again when we have the second round, third round. Okay, folks, so that's round one. We've got to know Jackie. There are hints there. Barbados is a difficult society. And this is probably more CARICOM, Ambassador Commission's area to speak to. Someone is coming? Ricky Amy. Yes, before I go into inviting Mr. Amy, COVID protocols being observed. The Ricky Amy. Norman Barr looking at me. I don't know. Norma, this is not going to happen today. Ricky, welcome.
Thank you. Right, I'm Ricky Amy. But for today, y'all can call me Dr. Spougenstein. That can work too. I've heard all the stories, and to be honest with you, I really didn't come here to do too much of the talking about what Jackie did and the experiences we had, because I've heard it all before, and I really think that we've been doing too much talking over the years and no action. And for me, I think that the best way to honor Jackie Opel is to get his music back into Bajan homes first, then the region, and then the world, because to me, Spouge was never dead. Dr. Monroe Knight said, that what she heard about Spouge, what she heard about Jackie Opel is that he brought a rhythm that failed. Spouge didn't fail. We failed Spouge. That's what really happened, right? As a musician from back then, and Norman would know what I'm talking about, when we stopped playing Spouge in Barbados, all the other Caribbean musicians wanted to know if we were crazy, right? I mean, a lot of what Richard and Desmond said is true. It's because of the man's background, right? But that was the beginning. But I came along with the Draytons too. And we took Spouge to a different stage. And one of the people that helped shape Spouge music, and it was in all the homes in Barbados. It was all over the Caribbean. It was in Africa. I toured Quebec in the 70s for 2.5 years, and I played in a town called Mistassini, far north in Quebec. Run into a Bajan, because you know you see a Bajan everywhere you go in the world. He came and he heard the band outfit the night, and he told, fellas, I come in for y'all tomorrow and take y'all by my store. We went in the store, and the man had all the Spouge recordings, everybody from Barbados, and he says, these people out here love the music, right? So we in Barbados, we killed Spouge, and you know, a lot of stories have been told about why it died and all kind of thing, and I have my beliefs too, but I think it's because certain elements in this society did not want to see that music go anywhere because of where it originated. But like I said, I didn't come to talk about that. I would like us to start looking at how we can get Spouge music happening again, because I don't see why we should be looking for new beats. And we already have a beat. We have Spouge, and it was out there, so we just need to pick it up. Spouge is not dead. It is just lying dormant, waiting for the big eruption like some big volcano. It's not dead. It's just lying dormant. And my musical nephew here, who I must say is doing a pretty good job with the youngsters, trying to get them, you know, we need to get the young people involved in Spouge and put their spin on it. Here's where it started. This is what we would like you to do with Spouge. Spouge music should be part of the crop over celebrations. It is Bajan music. We need to get things started and stop just talking all the time, because we've been talking about these things since the 70s. Right, Norman? So we got to move forward now. We got to start, get the kids more involved. We got to get radio programs happening. When we do radio and television programs and promotional videos of Barbados, the music accompanying these things should be Spouge music, not reggae or rhythm and blues. It should be Spouge music. We have to start pushing our own thing. That is not difficult to do. I never stopped writing Spouge songs. And I've been fusing Spouge with all kind of things. We can do it. We can get the youngsters involved. Get a Spouge festival happening. Do something.
Spouge Festival, Ministers of
It should be
Culture,
part of
are you
our
hearing?
You know?
Spouge Festival.
I know Richard has been saying that, you know, for years.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Thank you.
please, thank you.
Ricky, I'm gonna bring you back up this next round. Okay, before we move into Spouge, oh, ma'am. Yes, please. Microphone, thank you.
Hello, good night. Well, I didn't know Jackie Opel personally, but I'm a big fan of Jackie Opel music. I just can't listen to it sufficient. I can't get sufficient of it. I just love it. And I'm a big fan also of Spouge. I love to hear Mickey Drake, Gregory Payne, all of those singers that into Spouge, knowing that it had originated by Jackie Opel. Every November is my favorite month. When I can hear Randy Allen and all of those singers all day, it's a big, big fun for me. Well, if I could just go on a little further, I have a lot of respect for Belgian entertainers. And for instance, a lot of these collectorians, they was into music long before they came into collectorians. And a lot of them was into collection music for a number of years, but they was into entertainment for a long time. So they have helped make entertainment what it is in this country. And my vision is that millions of dollars that was made every year from crop over should be put to help benefit the collectorians, and if possible, Spouge should be in there. But I feel very strongly about it that some money should be put aside towards the benefit financially of the entertainers in this island. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, Ambassador. Yeah, I'm going on. I just want a moment of Jackie's death and then Spouge, but Ambassador, go ahead. Thank you very much, ma'am.
I know you're going on to Spouge, but I just wanted to reflect a little bit on Jackie before Spouge. In the Encyclopedia of Reggae, Desmond Decker testifies that Jackie Opel came on the scene in Jamaica and just dominated. He said that Jackie was at Leslie Kong's Beverly studio. And Jackie was so dominant that a number of the musicians associated with that studio, including Bob Marley, left. In other words, Jackie ran them. Jackie was just so dominant. The reality about Jackie Opel of the 1960s is that Jackie Opel was one of the great soul and rhythm and blues singers. So let's get that clear. Jackie is up there with James Brown, with Otis Redding. He's one of the great soul singers. That's number one. Secondly, Bunny Wailer himself told me that Jackie was the greatest ska singer of them all. Jackie played a very important role in the development of ska music. Jackie was one of the lead singers of the Scatterlights. He was also a songwriter with the Scatterlights and an arranger. He and Roland Alfonso were the two arrangers for the Scatterlights. So, and ska led to rocksteady and then rocksteady to reggae. So Jackie played a pivotal role in the development of Jamaican music, of the ska music. I think by the time he had left Jamaica, the rocksteady was now coming into it. You'll get a little taste of his with the rocksteady with Rosanna, for example, a song that Richard Stoute introduced me to, a Jackie Opel song. So in terms of Trevor, you composer, dancer, performer, musician, arranger. He really did it all. And so it is. I mean, Spouge, he died at 32. Spouge was, what's wrong with this? Yes, Spouge came really at the end of his career, at the end of his life. But of course, it was a tremendous gift that he gave to Barbados when he gave us that national beat. And yes, of course, the Draytons too developed it, but when you listen to Jackie, has about 6 or 7 Spouge recordings. But these are magnificent songs. You have a song like You Got to Pay. Where are you going to find a Spouge song that is better than You Got to Pay? Welcome You Back Home. So Jackie was doing the hard driving Spouge like You Got to Pay, but then you go and listen to a song like Welcome You Back Home, the groovy, the nice laid back groovy Spouge beat. So even if you judge his Spouge by the limited number of Spouge recordings that he was able to do before he passed, just a handful, but these are tremendous songs. And of course, it was further, the music was further developed by the Draytons too, and Sach and Richard Stoute, and all the rest of it. But we must insist that the entirety of Jackie Opel's career and contribution must be taken into account. It can't just be Spouge. No, tremendous soul singer. Tremendously influential developer of ska that led into rocksteady and ultimately into reggae. So one of the greats, definitely one of the greats, and he has been treated very, very poorly, both by Jamaica and by Barbados. And there's a feeling that one of the reasons that he has been kind of left out of the history of Jamaican music is because he was non-Jamaican. When Jamaica celebrated their 50th anniversary of independence, Edward Seaga, they did a whole big thing for looking back at the 50 years of Jamaican music. Edward Seaga did a 50-page essay. No mention of Jackie Opel. No mention of a lead singer of the Scatterlights, which is the main band that developed the ska music and took it forward. So he has been treated he has been treated shabbily by the Jamaicans, and possibly because he was not Jamaican. But what is Barbados's excuse? I think that is that is the question we are trying to tease out. Well, we heard about the social and race issues and so forth, but Barbados really has no excuse, because this is our musical cornerstone. This should really be the first musical hero of the Republic of Barbados. And that's how we have to look at Jackie Opel and give him that accolade and that standard. Thank you very much.
First musical hero. Yes, I just want to give you some things to think about. In 1963, Norman is going to come, so we're going to have the cleaning waiting for Norman. In 1963, Jackie wrote World's Captaincy, which is a calypso, by the way. 1964, this is just some examples. He wrote You Can't Catch Me, which is ska with Clement Dodd. In 1965, he wrote A Love to Share. 1965 is also Crimea River. 1965 is also Eternal Love. 1965 is also The Millman, featuring Jackie Opel, backup vocals, Bob Marley, Bunny Wailer, and Peter Tosh. Backup vocals. Jackie was the lead, the man. And Bob has been quoted of remembering working with Jackie and how phenomenal he was. Turn to the Almighty is also 1965 with Top Deck label owner Justin Yap. And You're No Good is 1969. Jackie returns to Barbados and he performs Caribbean Pepper Pot, Club Morgan, Drill Hall, Globe, Half Moon Hotel, the Island Inn, the Paradise Hotel, YMPC. He also performed at Studio Party, and more than 2 people have told me this. Norman, apparently singing at Studio Party, I am told Jackie kept singing and ran up a wall, flipped, and continued. CBC lose the footage. Go ahead, Norman.
Hello. Hi, good evening, everybody. They lost all of mine too, by the way. I didn't really know Jackie Opel. I never really met Jackie Opel. But I think my connection to Jackie Opel came similarly to what the experience that Stefan had. In the late 60s and early 70s, I was in music long before that, but I played with the Daytons and Richard Stoute. We recorded songs in Radio Fusion studios and all that sort of stuff. So I go back pretty far. But the Spouge thing, I had got into recording as an engineer while I was playing with the Sound Pebbles. And we had started West Indies Records, which was a record company that was operating at the time and producing a lot of the local records. Were recording, started to record this Spouge music. I just interject here though, I did see Jackie do that thing that Trevor tried to do just now, the split. Because I did see him perform, but I didn't know him, right? But anyhow, and so a gentleman by the name of Bunny Best, who is another person that has gone by forgotten, who played a big role in getting a lot of the groups recorded. I used to do all the recording for West Indies Records. All the groups that came to record, I ended up being the engineer. And one day, Sach came to the studio with a group from St. George, I think it was, and they were singing this song called Another Dream, which he had written. I didn't know Sach before then. And for some reason, the recording did not happen. I don't know if Sach can remember that, but that is something that I always have as to how I got involved in the whole Spouge thing. But I liked the song. And my group at the time, which was the Sound Pebbles, up until then, you know, a lot of the groups were doing, nobody was writing that much original music. We were singing a lot of island songs, Beautiful Barbados and Island in the Sun, because we were playing mainly for tourists, you know. This was our life, that's how we made our living. And I liked the song, and I said to Sach, you know, I would like to see if we can do this song. The Sam Pebbles could do this song, and they hooked him up with I think John and Roger. And anyhow, to cut a long story short, we ended up recording the song, and the song was a phenomenal hit in Barbados, a tune called "Another Dream," and that started the band doing Spouge music, and subsequently Sach wrote quite a number of songs for us, which were all major hits. And this, I would say that the success of the band at that time, that's the formula of the Sam Pebbles at that time, because this was like the third generation of Sam Pebbles, this group that made this, had this success with Spouge. I would say that Spouge was responsible for getting us where we got. And it really hurt to see that it's come to nothing. And I support what Ricky had said. You know, there's whole lots, everybody can come with all kinds of reasons, but I think the point that he made is true. We failed Spouge. We, the Barbadian entertainers, and the media. I know I may get lashes for this, because I believe that part of the reason that we are having this dilemma with the music, not that I have anything against any kind of music, but it seems like the young people don't know their roots. They don't know where they've come from. They don't know the history of music. The history of music. So people like Stefan, who is doing this tremendous job with his young people, and all the research that's being done now on Jackie, and all the stories that were told that people had the wrong idea, they didn't know this, they didn't know that. I mean, a lot of things I know about Jackie, I learned in the last few years because of all of this. I didn't know that he played that major role in the Jamaican music scene. And that's wrong. That's wrong. You can say what you like, that is wrong. Whether it's Republic or not, that is wrong. And all of us suffer from that. John King, all of us, we all suffer from that, because we have this, I call it carnival mentality, right? Where you sing a song now, done with that. Next year, I want a new one. I must have a new song. You don't want to hear anything from before. And so CBC, I think a year or two ago, started the 94.7, playing local music. I thought this was a great thing. I think it was a fantastic idea. I don't like the direction, but I think it's a fantastic idea. And so there we have started to hear a lot of the music that was played back then, but we're not hearing enough, because we're playing the same songs over and over. You know how many songs they got out there? I have albums of mine that have never been played in Barbados yet. I'm only one person or one group. We have thousands and thousands of songs that could play for a year every day without playing the same song again. I'm positive. But we're playing the same songs over and over, right? So it's a great idea being executed wrong. I take my licks. I don't have to worry. I'm my age now. I can say, you know, don't want to give me no work or that, no problem. I fortunate. I get past the national insurance thing. I get my pension already. So I save. But no, seriously. So I support all the efforts that are being made with this whole Jackie Opel Day and recognition of the past and the music. And it's not that I think that those days were better. I just think that we missed the boat. We missed the boat, you know. And we still have time to correct it and to try to get things going, and to all the things that everybody has said. I don't have to go over all those things. But I just want to, before I go, the last point is that the point that, I don't know who touched on it, about why Spouge failed. One of the things. because at that time, the music industry was controlled by the Barbados Shipping and Trading, right? We don't remember who that is now, right? And all of the people who were making waves, whatever I can, I'm not that educated, but all the people who were making it and selling thousands and thousands and thousands of records all over the Caribbean, all that talk that everybody said about the Caribbean and traveling, and it's all true. I mean, up to today, if I go and work in St. Lucia doing song or something, there are people that come to me there and they find out who I am and ask me, what happened to Spouge? Up to today. Right? But anyhow, getting back to the point I was making is that I believe that part of the reason why it didn't go too much further was because all of the people who were making it happen, at that time, when you think back in the late 60s, early 70s, Barbados was it wasn't supposed to happen. That's basically it. That's my feeling. It wasn't supposed to happen, and we suffered from it. I suffered from it. I can tell you stories that will make you cry about pressure that was put on me by the same organization to stop doing what I was doing, right? I'm telling you. So I support it. I support it. Thank you.
Norman, I'm very aware of BS&T. I wasn't aware I know they have fingers in every pie in Barbados, but honestly, I didn't realize they had it in the music pie. And that brings a whole other narrative. The old plantocracy.
A gentleman called Byron Lee wanted to come to Barbados to set up a studio and a pressing plant. Okay? And I know that because I was involved in it. I was chosen as person to work to help him get it done at that time. I was a very young person at the time. And it got squashed. It got squashed. And you know why? Because I was pressing records in Barbados, because we were producers, so we produced records. Sach will tell you all about this record production business that we did. And they were making the records for us, pressing the records. This is West Indies record. And the prices were going up and up and up. So our profit, so I went to Jamaica and found out that we could get the records pressed in Jamaica and shipped to Barbados cheaper than we could get them from them. And I started to do it. Byron Lee is dead and gone now, rest his soul, but he could tell you. Right? Bunny Bess is still alive. And he was involved in it too. And when they found out that, they squashed it. Anyhow, that's it.
Wow. Thank you, Norman. Okay, I'm seeing the time. It has been absolutely exciting. I want to go back to our panel and speak to Spouge. I did this the last time. We at the university had a session to Jackie Opel last year in the anniversary of his death, March the 9th. And this is the question that we arrived at, and I want us to be here. Can we describe what is Spouge? Richard, you want to take a look at that? Because you were there in the early stages. What is Spouge? How would you describe it? I'll ask you the same thing, Desmond, Sach, etc.
Spouge is a rhythm created by Jackie Opel, which involves the cowbell, the guitar. The guitar goes ticking, 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 ticking. That is the signature for Spouge. And the cowbell go ka-top, 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 ka-top. And the drum is on top of that, the hi-hat. With the keyboard, which has been created by a Barbadian, something that he created himself. Jackie Opel stood by the New Orleans Bath and sang all of these rhythm waves for us. But you know, what is very, very, very embarrassing? That we're sitting here this evening and there's no footage. You all just spoke about Jackie was jumping on the wall and all that. There's nobody at all can show me any footage of Jackie Opel after all the work that he did in Barbados. Yeah. And it grieves me. It makes me feel very sad. You know, because it proves that it is gross incompetence on the people who are in charge of these things. You know, and Ricky Amy and Norman, you know, endorse the idea of Spouge, having the Spouge Festival and all that. But I want you all to know that we have had Spouge shows before that flopped. People just did not come to the shows. Ladies and gentlemen, there's only one entertainer in Barbados today that can fill a hall. Don't fool ourselves. When I have my Capricorn affairs and all that, I look for places that could hold 100 people because I know only 100 coming. Smokey Burke had his concert right over here just before he passed. A fantastic evening's entertainment. I paid $50 to come to see that. He had about 50 people. When Smokey Burke died, you could not get into the church. Mm-hmm. I was singing in the choir and I had to beg for a seat. The same thing happened to Jackie Opel, because when Jackie Opel died, it was the biggest funeral I ever saw in my life. Mm-hmm. You couldn't get into the cemetery. I was supposed to sing by the graveside, didn't get there yet. You know, so we must stop fooling ourselves. You know, you see the word Spouge? We're going to put out a Spouge concert tomorrow. Nobody ain't coming. One night I laid on my bed here, there's a show at the National Stadium. You have Elephant Man, Tiger Man, Wolf Man, Red Rat, Bird Man, all animals. And out of curiosity, I put on my clothes and went up there to see what's happening. And the players were jamming with people. Yeah, but they, you know, don't let us fool ourselves. Life is reality, you know. We cannot live a lie. There's no, do you know any Barbadian entertainers that have concerts in Barbados? They can't risk it because the people are not going to come. We do not support our own. If you bring a fella from Timbuktu with a funny hairstyle and a funny name and singing a different language that we can understand, we're going. And please accept that. Life is reality. We cannot hide from ourselves. So when we come now and we try to do things, Spouge concert and all that, you know, who's going to come? You know, and then it defeats the purpose of explaining to the young people what Spouge is. Many of my young people, but sir, what is Spouge? I've never seen Jackie Opel. How you can see him? You've never seen him. There's no footage of him. We don't take care of our own, but we have footage of everybody else. But we don't have footage with Jackie Opel. And that's very sad. Very sad. It hurts me.
Yes, Richard. Unfortunately, and this is being recorded by CBC, there is reputedly a culture of covering over the tape. You know, I have personally experienced it in Laugh It Off. CBC came and filmed the entire of Laugh It Off one Sunday night, kept the audience, repeated some scenes, got it all, went and covered the tape with football the next day. After putting so much energy in it. So I have been looking for footage as well. I openly welcome CBC. If you find footage, share with us. There's so many stories of Jackie. I'm sure you've got Party Time somewhere, because Party Time, I was a little thing, but I remember Party Time was a thing to be seen. And it is that matter of seeing Jackie in action. We hear the descriptions, and maybe now the ministry can find ways of putting together the descriptions and we grab something. There's something there. Sach, what is Spouge?
I don't know if I can clearly define what is Spouge, but what I can tell you is that Spouge was a very infectious dance rhythm. And if you go back to all the fêtes at the, well, all over Barbados, and you would see people who would, whether they were sitting in the corner on the outside of the building, as soon as they start to play, the band started to play Spouge, you would see people gravitate towards the dance floor, okay? It had that sort of magnetism to bring people in. But what I also want to say is that I have always felt, and I still do believe, that Spouge can be successfully be revived, okay? Of course, there are multiple reasons why Spouge just stopped happening. It's not one reason, it's a whole lot of multifaceted, so to speak. My understanding of it, I could be wrong, but the way that I saw the failure of Spouge back then was the fact that, and if you go back to the early period of Spouge, you will see that Spouge was it. Everybody jumped on the Spouge wagon. Spouge was very successful, perhaps during the first 5 years or so. Good. And then Spouge started to just fade away, all right? Spouge was so powerful at the time that it was able to drag a lot of the top entertainers, musicians, singers into that genre at that point in time, okay? So something went wrong. What I believe went wrong at that point in time, let's say about 5 years after the advent of Spouge, is that unlike the arranging talent that we have today, that was not found back in the 70s and so on. You had a lot of the individuals, the bands and so on, they were just singing Spouge songs, but not a lot of arrangement, not very much, not very good production. So everybody was playing basically the same sort of Spouge rhythm, with the exception of the Sand Pebbles. If you listen to the Sand Pebbles Spouge, they had, we tried slow Spouge, fast Spouge, a whole lot of different ways to express Spouge. Then you had Ricky Amy. I remember when I went to work for West Indies Record Limited as their full-time producer, I produced, was it Dr. Frankenstein? Spouge-Stein. Yeah, I produced that. Spouge-Stein, okay? This is different. So what I'm saying is that if you took the arranging talent that we have today in Barbados, the Nicholas Branker, our Ricky Braffett, and Mike Seeley, and all those people who did not make that kind of contribution to Spouge back in the 70s, okay? And you get them to sit down and arrange for Spouge the way they arrange it for Calypso, I am saying, okay, that you will see the variation and you will see success coming back to Spouge, okay? I also remember back in when Dr. Elliot Paris was at the National Culture Foundation, I approached Dr. Paris. Matter of fact, we had him been at my house one day, okay? I was trying to introduce some ideas to him to sort of spruce up the Crop-Over Festival. And I suggested then to Dr. Paris that it is really unfair to all the other singers in Barbados who are not singing Calypso, who don't have a festival, who don't have anything that is organized to that magnitude. Calypsonians have it at Crop-Over time, so every Calypsonian can get some exposure, maximum exposure, okay? And there was nothing happening for the other singers. I suggested to him that there should be a Spouge show in Crop-Over, okay? And I still believe that if we had that today being featured inside of the Crop-Over, the whole Crop-Over event, that it would be a significant benefit to other performers in Barbados, because it is at that time of the year that you get a lot of expatriates coming, well, not expatriates, but other Barbadians who live in abroad coming back into Barbados from the diaspora and so on. So you have a captive audience. only for the calypsonians, not for the people who are singing other genres, which is unfair. So I'm saying that if you really want to get Spouge back in the limelight, that you can get. I saw and I heard a Spouge melody by Nicholas Branker and his band, fantastic. Okay, and I think it can be done if you can get the songwriters, again, to get back into Spouge, get the arrangers to get back into it, and have a Spouge show, a big show at the Opel with just Spouge artists. Now, it doesn't have to be a competition, okay? Newly written material, if you can get down to that, and properly arranged, and I think we have that level of competency among all the arrangers that we have, and right in the middle of crossover, have a Spouge, big Spouge show. And Spouge can get, I think, and then 2 years or so, Spouge will be back on the market.
Ministers of culture, you hear that? The gentleman who wrote 3,000 compositions.
More than that
Something
now.
to think, more than the 3,000 compositions. Mr. Drayton, one of Drayton's two, who we've grown up with.
First of all, let me say that the Mr. Trevor Marshall's comments there. The S in Spouge represents soul. So Jackie Opel had the soul into the Spouge. He spelled it out in the alphabet, but I can't remember. I don't know the S was soul. G-E. Right. He had everything. He had the meaning for every letter in S-P-O-U-G-E. The next thing is that you create music for the lifestyle of your people. In Jamaica, you will see there's a revolution of people fighting and doing all of those things, right? This is the lifestyle of Jamaica. And Jamaica go through more depression than we don't have enough. Well, we didn't used to have no gun shooting and all of those things, you know. I mean, we had a level, everything. Everybody in the village were loved. Everybody in the village, they were lovable, you know what I mean? And everything was just cool and calm. So Jackie Opel brought that kind of feeling to Barbados. Take, for instance, tourists come here for quiet and peace. To have tourists coming here don't even feel that a car just drive on the road. They don't have mosquitoes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They come for,
Yeah, no traffic lights
no
in paradise.
I can remember one time I setting up in the hotel and nothing was on. And the tourist lady passed like this. So she think it is noise. So Spouge is not a music that is revolutionary. It's a music of love. And if you see, and if you notice in those days when Spouge was popular, every time you strike a Spouge, people would move. The Honorable John King because he sang Spouge. At my show, he break down the place with Spouge. Everybody with Spouge. Also, we forgetting that Spouge won a road march with Little Rick. We must not forget these things. You see, we look at a lot of things and we don't see the development of Spouge. And as I said before, Spouge is a journey.
Spouge is a journey.
You understand? Spouge is a journey. Another thing is that every generation brings their own thing to the country. Every generation changes, right? And I will go. We like to refer to international stars and Bob Marley's, and then when you refer to Barbadians, nobody seems to understand. The Beatles changed when the Beatles came in. The Beatles came in and saw everybody in this lovable mood and all of that. The Beatles said, "No, I can bring something for the hippies." Yeah, 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 yeah. And everybody ran to that style, and that was the Beatles style. When Bob Marley came, Jamaica was the ska and those things. Bob Marley said, "No, let me take it to the Rastas." And the first album he put out was Skaya. where he had a big spliff in his hands. So that's one of the first albums he put out. You know, so music changes as it go by. But when I look at Spouge, I see Spouge like the crossing. We coming, our ancestors coming from Africa. I see it as the crossing. And when I feeling it with the different instruments, I feel, when I hear the chicking, I can feel that engine, the shit coming of the engine coming from Africa. When I hear the cowbell, I think of the cowbell like when the slaves tried to run away, they took us and they put a bell around our necks. You understand? So we can't get away. So I don't know if Jackie Opel was thinking like this, but this is how I see Spouge, that pulsating rhythm. And if we look at other people's culture, we will never, ever develop our own. Like today, this is supposed to be a Jackie Opel day. But you know, only 2 radio stations were playing Jackie Opel music. You mean the young people that live in Barbados? The young stations, no young station ain't playing no Jackie Opel. So how you expect that this music could develop for young people when the young people, Jackie Opel, day going on, and them in another day? We have to let these radio stations know that young people need to know about the music, and this is the only way it can develop. You know, it can't develop with we alone, because soon from now none of you will be recording. You understand? So only VOB and CBC I heard playing Jackie Opel music. I switched the other station deliberately because I'm a man that just follow Spouge to the end. You understand? So I switched to find out if other stations were playing. And I haven't heard no Jackie Opel on these stations, which means them stations in this country. So we got to get together, and we cannot bring it, we cannot market like how we used to market before, because Spouge, Jackie Opel died how much years now?
52?
52 years.
70, yeah.
Right, 52 years. And we got to find a way to market it. If you just put on a show and you just say, we got a show in the park, you don't advertise it, you don't do nothing, and do that, you will not get no people in the place. And that is the mistake we were making all the time. We say we want to put on a Spouge show, we just put it on a Spouge show. But we have to find some marketing strategy to bring back Spouge and put Spouge together.
Can I say something very briefly, Marcia?
Yeah, go ahead, Sach.
What is also important to note here, and this is one of the major, what I consider to be one of the major contributing factors to, if you don't want to call it the death of Spouge, the dormancy of Spouge, is the fact that if you look back at the late 60s, 70s, mostly 70s, you will find that a lot of things, many things were happening across Barbados, all the arenas. You had a lot of venues. And Spouge became very popular because the young people went out to these venues every weekend, all across Barbados, not only in Bridgetown and St. Michael, but all across Barbados. You had venues open up for people to perform, people to dance, people to hear Spouge, enjoy Spouge. By the middle of the 70s, they were almost all gone. All the venues were closed. So if you were making recordings, yeah, but you want more than recordings. You want venues. Today, you don't have any venues. So you're not really going to get a lot going for music in Barbados. You have a lot of musicians coming out. Talented guys can write and arrange and play coming from the community college every year. Where are they going to perform in Barbados? don't have any venues. So getting a music industry back up and running in Barbados today with the kind of infrastructure that we have is not going to work, not for Spouge, not for nothing. At the end of crop over, that's the end of it. We need to have, and look, I think the government played an important role in cooling this thing down too, because the government shut people out of all the community centers across Barbados. Back in the 70s, all the community centers were off limit. And that's where you had a lot of people, a lot of the bands that could not get into the hotels and the nightclubs, that were not popular at the drill hall and the YPC. They played in the community centers in all across Barbados. Every weekend, all of that was shut down. So that brought everything down. People were not going to listen to music anymore. So we need to have venues, performing venues, okay? I mean, we should have had, years ago, I was trying to get a committee together to have a performing right center where people can come out and know a big, because people just don't want to come and listen to people singing on stage and be sitting down. They want somewhere you can have entertainment that people can come out and dance. People like that, okay? There's nowhere where in Barbados to have that today. You don't have it. So I think that, first of all, if you want to revive the music industry in Barbados, including giving Spouge another chance, that we have to first look at rebuilding the performing centers across Barbados, and that would be the key to it, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Ministers of Culture, you heard. Mr. One of Drayton will speak.
Another thing is that people forget, or people don't know that when Spouge really hitting, it played a significant part in the economy in Barbados. And because when Spouge were hitting, there were jukeboxes, right? And the people, the roots of the people, just like the crop, just like when you're in the camp crop, when you finish the crop and you get paid, you go in a rum shop and you buy some rum, and the whole community benefiting from that, the shopkeeper and everything. And this is what Spouge used to do. When people punching the jukeboxes, people buying records from the record company and walking and selling them. I can remember the same Jackie Opel. I think it was Miss Joseph from Number One Record Shop. Used to give him money and say, look, go and buy your records. And she had a record shop, and she loved him so bad that she said, go and buy these records, and you can go and sell them all around. Bunny Allen, one of the greatest songwriters ever in Barbados. I saw Bunny Allen singing a song and composing a song at the same time. But we laughed at him, you know what I'm saying, because he was Bunny Allen. And Bunny Allen took money, went and bought his records from the record company, went all around Barbados and sold the records, and that is the only job he had. You understand? So it provides employment for people in Barbados. It had the economy moving and everything. So we cannot just sit back and say that Spouge dead. It's a journey. You understand? Another thing is that nearly every week, somebody from university calls me to ask me about Spouge because they are doing an exam. So this, okay, right. You understand? So which means Spouge is a journey. And I am proud to see my brother here involved, who is one of Barbados' top musicians. Dr. Nicholas Branker is playing Spouge now. Once before time, you didn't have none of those kind of guys who went to Hartson College and things would not play Spouge or look into it. But it's a journey, and the journey has just begun.
Okay. Oh, wow. Stefan, this is literal and metaphorical. We are turning to you. we're turning to you now at this point in time in the discussion because I want to hear your description, your insights of what is Spouge. These gentlemen have passed the baton to you. They've passed the baton to you. They've run the race. Richard from the 60s, Sach from the 60s, 70s, Desmond the 70s.
I ain't passing the baton yet. I hold the baton.
Oh, you holding the baton. Oh, Lord. He holding up the relay. Mr. Drayton's one of Drayton's two is holding up the relay, Stefan, but this is the 21st century.
Don't put me in a box.
No, I accept, sir. Apologies. This is the 21st century, folks. I thought Ricky was very strong in saying, look, we failed Spouge. This is the 21st century in a new republic. It has traveled with a test. The political, cultural, socio-cultural journey of Barbados has been tough. Segregation, discrimination, racism, classism, colorism, everythingism. We have the opportunity now in the 21st century to somehow keep going, thank our ancestors for the journey. I like what Mr. Drayton's one just said. It's a journey and it's passed on. Stefan, what
that material, and it is a rhythm. That is the essence of it. That was a marriage of Jackie's idea plus the troubadours. I think in some of the narratives, their contribution in the initial stages, because it had to be an organic process, because it wasn't a transcription where he came in and shared out and said, like, this is what we have to play. So there was some sort of conversation they had in terms of in the bar room. And then eventually when he passed on, the Draytons too and the other the interview I had with him years ago, and which I really saw materially is that each band took the influence the music they were influenced by and added it to Spouge. So you will find like the Draytons too, being from the Toots and the Metals, they brought that to Spouge. And then you had Ricky and those guys bring funk with Spouge. Then you have Randy Allen and the Dynamics being a more country and western band, as Ricky told me, and they heard it, and when they really analyzed it, I saw what he was saying. They were very, very sweet. The harmonies were very major, etc. So they brought that influence to Spouge. So all these bands brought the influence, with the music they were influenced by, and added it to the Spouge rhythm. And the varying degrees of how rhythmic and how polyrhythmic they played it also depend on the influence, what they were being influenced by. Which brings me to the future of Spouge. I think we tend to overlook and see that everybody's playing one type of thing back in the 70s. But the thing about it was that they were bringing what they were being influenced by to Spouge. So that is the future of Spouge, that there is going to be a future where people bring the influence, what they're being influenced by. Barbados has always been that sort of street corner type of conversations we have with varying parts of the world, with Africa, with North America all the time. And what influence can we bring? Can it be a trap on Spouge? Will we be open-minded enough to accept that when a young person says, I want the trap beat, but I want the 808s and a little Spouge and a little cowbell? Will we see that as being the evolution of Spouge? Or are we going to say, nah, give me the Jackie stuff? So that's where we are. We need to recognize that these influences do exist among our young people, and that is their honest expression. They're not telling lies. That's what they're into. For them to say, no, we only want to play Spouge or Jackie, that is not going to happen. We need to be open-minded enough to see what it was, the reality of the 70s Spouge bands. These guys were into other things, and they added Spouge. I recognize that is the future of the music as well, too.
Wow. Fantastic. Yes, on the one, I only listened to one radio station today, and I heard a rock version of something complete with guitars, and guitars. I don't know what that band was. I heard it twice. It's a rock band, a young version, interpretation. talking to Alps Corbing, who is a member of the Troubadours and probably is listening to us in live stream. He argued that the Troubadour Spouge was different from the other Spouges being and it's the first time I thought of what Stefan has just said. There were so many various versions of Spouge. There isn't one Spouge. Each band had their own version of Spouge. As a Troubadours guy, he saw it as the Spouge that you should listen to, but he understood. He also argued there were at least 100 bands in Barbados in the 70s, each playing a different version of Spouge. This is where scholarship failed. I didn't know there were 100 bands in Barbados. When I read the scholarship that says there was no music in Barbados, there were 100 bands in Barbados up and down the parishes of Barbados playing music. And people went, as Sach said, and danced. Norman is there going, no. We in scholarship now, and we are all at the Faculty of Culture, we have been almost tasked to bring the research up to date and correct the silences. It's as though we've written out the 70s. I thank Trevor, he kept the ball going. And honestly, I do have a chapter coming out where I show that Crop Over happily, merrily started off without Spouge. That was an opportunity. They brought in foreign bands, literally imported from Germany, Venezuela, etc. That chapter is going to be coming out in a few months, I'm told. We began without Spouge. An indigenous festival looked out and brought in something else. I'm aware that thanks to the library, there's some goodies for us waiting outside. We've been here for a couple of hours. I'm seeing hands. I, however, remember, yes, I see a hand, but remember, I promised Mr. Richard Stoute that he could speak. Some other hands, and then, Mr. Nurse, perhaps we will wrap up. Go ahead, Richard.
Thank you very much. I just want to, I think this is a good forum for me to bring this point. The hotel industry in Barbados, what is it doing for entertainment? The hotel industry is now telling the entertainers that they cannot get paid within 3 months. 3 months they have to wait for money. And the sums of money that they're paying them are very small. When I was performing in the hotel industry, when I get to the door at night at the hotels, the person at the front desk used to say to me, Mr. Stoute, your check is ready. But now you have your best entertainers at home at night watching television. I want you to tell me one entertainer in Barbados with a name that makes money in the hotel industry in Barbados. That's where I made my money when I was singing in the hotel industry. But now you cannot get, you go to a hotel now, you see a little guitar in a little corner without a light, you know, and you ask what's the name of the band, nobody knows, right? And, you know, and they can't go to the bar. They're told you can't go to the bar, you have to stay out here in the dark. And you can't get a rum and coke, you have to get a beer and stuff like that. What is the hotel industry doing? What is the hotel industry doing to help raise the standard of entertainment in Barbados? You have the community college there. I heard about the music at the community college, and they're producing musicians. Where are they going to play? Why can't they play in the hotels in Barbados instead of having a one-pan man in the corner playing the same thing over and over all the time? You cannot stifle the industry by not employing your best entertainers. You know, and unless these fellas get on a plane and go somewhere, they cannot make no money in Barbados. And we're totally disrespected, When I went to buy my property many years ago, I went to 4 banks to get a mortgage. And they told me, quite frankly, we do not lend entertainers money. And I went to Owen Seymour Arthur, God rest him in his grave, with my problem. He said, what? Do they understand the contribution you made to Barbados? Go home. Somebody's going to call you tomorrow morning. And the next morning, a man called me from the bank and told me, Mr. Stoute, your mortgage has been approved. I said, but not by you. He said, by the way, you know the Prime Minister don't run this bank. I said, well, when I call him to see him, they thank him, I tell him what you said. He said, oh, no, my God, don't do that. Don't tell that man I told you that. I said, well, I hope because this can't work out for me. See, yeah, you got to hair ready, man, you know. So that is a clear indication. You hear what the man said to me? We do not lend entertainers money, you know. So we need to look at where are we going to make our living. Where we're going to, because I have other young people coming to business, and they want to play in the hotels. But how are they going to play when you're treating them like that? And then there's some senior people in the business who've been around for so many years that have accepted this mediocrity from the hotels and allow them to push them around like they're playing dominoes. You know, people must learn to stand on their own 2 feet and fight for what they really, really deserve.
Okay. Wow. There are a couple of hands. There's a hand in a red shirt going completely. We've been here over 2 hours, folks. We're wrapping up. Come, sir. Your hand was, you were indicating, and another gentleman there, and I will hand over to the library. Aye, aye, aye. Yes.
Good night, everybody. I want to thank the panel very much for the erudite setup here and all the discussions and for all the thoughts that were put into the whole session here this evening. I know it's got to be quick. I don't want to pour cold water on the whole presentation tonight. I only want to say that, or to inform those who don't know, that because of copyright legislation, Jackie Opel no longer earns a salary, or his estate. All the music that we played by Jackie Opel from since 2020 has gone nowhere as far as finance is concerned, because the Burns Convention ended in Barbados for 50 years after the death of the entertainer. Yes. And there's legislation now on cost cap. I guess Sach can read this and all the others. And I believe the lawmakers also looking into the fact of extending that copyright legislation for another 20 years, which will make it 70 years after the death of the entertainer. Jamaica has theirs going for 95 years. Most countries have theirs for 70 years, but Barbados has theirs for 50 years. So Jackie Opel and his heirs, his relatives, whoever, will be earning no more money since 2020. And we will want the lawmakers to look into that and extend the life of that copyright legislation, that Jackie Opel's family, or even my family, John's family, whoever else, when they die, can be a recipient of some monies for an extension. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Recently, someone, Professor, yes, go ahead. Go ahead. The usual COVID protocol wipe down obviously isn't going to happen, maybe, or will.
Let me just,
please. Whilst waiting for the minister,
yeah, let me
a record of Jackie Opel was at least $1,700 US on eBay. $1,700 US being bought up by the way, the Japanese really like Jackie Opel. 45, like a 45. Japan, Netherlands, loads of money. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring you up to date that in 2020 that legislation was looked at, and it is going to be extended to the 70 years. It's just that it hasn't come to Parliament as yet, but that was already sorted out. So I just wanted to let you know that. But I just want to make a point on a couple of things that I've heard here this evening. We keep making the same mistakes over and over. And this is, I'm speaking now as an entertainer. We always seem to, everything always seems to come back to what government has to do. If you think of any music form anywhere else in the world, it's what the people do. The musicians, the public support. Those are the things that make it into what it eventually goes into. What government can do is create an environment that supports what it is, but they can't do it themselves. You have to do it yourself. And even when Ricky spoke, and he made the admission that the musicians stopped playing Spouge. It wasn't that a government or anybody else. It was the people who created it stopped playing it. And so therefore, if you stop playing it, there's nothing for the younger generations to really latch on to. So it means that what we have to do now, and I keep hearing the same thing again with these competitions and these various things, but the music must also have a lifestyle. If you look at any music form, and I keep talking about it for years, any music form at all. If I open a magazine, I know what a rock artist looks like. I know what a reggae artist looks like. I know what a rap artist looks like. And there's a lifestyle that goes along with it. And so in this next development or reintegration of the music, it will have to be a little bit more targeted, not just on the musical side of it, but what is the lifestyle? And what's the general culture that is going to come out of it? And you asked the question, what is Spouge? I don't know if anybody can actually because you must, I guess, you could understand that music, art, these kind of things are very dynamic, and they're always changing, and they're always morphing, and they're always moving. And so I just wanted to make that little point as we go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to give Dr. Walcott the opportunity to speak after that. Dr. Walcott, seeing that you are working with the younger generation.
To respond to the aspect of not being, the genres not being definitive.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to what your senator just said. As one person said, you could find a musical example that goes against what everybody thinks the genre is. There are some similarities, but there's always exceptions that are included within the genre as well, too. So there's a lot of scope for creativity.
I've been given, a journalist has a question, and this gentleman has a question. Audience, do we have, allow 2 questions, and then we retire outside where the library will entertain us? And everyone was, okay, this is fun. 2 more questions. Well, I did speak to that, and this gentleman here. Go ahead, sir.
All right, well, I really hadn't planned to speak this evening, but I remember in 2005 when I was a journalist with the Barbados Advocate, there was a committee, I think David Hines and a few others were part of it, that were trying to revamp Spouge at that time. I also remember, too, about that same period in the early 2000s, Shaka McNeil was doing some work with Spouge as well. He had done a couple of Spouge songs, and he was interested in getting it back up. But then I also remember, too, that when that committee that I spoke about just now, they organized the show at the After Dark, I think it was. And what happened was that a lot of the young people that came out, they dressed up in 70s outfits, so back in time type of thing. So that kind of like, to my mind, that kind of said to me that people have put Spouge in this 70s box. You know, that but also coming out of that, I remember that Mr. Dale, he had performed a version of John Legend's Ordinary People in Spouge, which was up at that time. So I thought, okay, so a little progress there, and because there were a number of covers done in the original Spouge, so to do something that was current at that time in the genre, I thought that was very clever. And I also like what I've been hearing tonight, too, about how, because I guess I've never really listened to it closely because I was born a couple months before Jackie died. I am not from that era. But I know the songs from hearing them on the radio as a child and so on coming up, and my parents were very much into music, had a lot of records around the house and what have you. So that's how I got into it. And it's interesting what I heard just now about how every group, every singer put their own spin on it. I guess I have to listen to it more closely and pick up that. But that's a good thing, and I think that is a good direction. If you're going to talk about revamping it and so on, the young people can put their spin on it that sort of way. And I remember something that Smokey Burke, God rest him, also said around that same time I was trying to write about that stuff. I remember he said that, to his mind, what we call, I guess we call it sweet soca, no, they're calling it raga soca back then. He said that in terms of the rhythm of raga soca, he said that he thought that if Spouge were to evolve to what was then modern times, it would sound kind of similar to that based on the structure. So I thought I'd just share that with you guys here. But I think that Ricky made some very good points too. I was very impressed with what he said as well. And I think that, yeah, we need to respect Jackie's contribution. We talk about this reviving thing all the time, but reviving suggests that you're dead or whatever the case is. And I mean, there's only one person that ever got resurrected from the dead that I know about. So, you know, maybe I think what you said, I think dormant might be the better word. We saw what happened with a dormant volcano last year, so yes, you can come back.
All right, this gentleman here, I had promised him, and this is the last before Mr. Nurse. Go ahead. Down, sorry. Sorry, not Nurse, Downs. I rebaptized you. Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very impressed with what I was listening to. Actually, it's very educational, and actually, this gentleman bring a different spin on the proceedings tonight. In terms, I didn't know that he was, you know, he had lots. He came out to Barbados and everybody was looking down on him. But I just want to be very brief. I think Mr. Marshall mentioned something that probably all of us overlook. All the genre of music has something we call a dance. And that actually developed the music. So the thing is that we should always look in terms of having the young people interested, whatever means you have to do. We always call competition, but there should be some means of getting a creative dance to the music, and that would get the young people actually very interested, because I think there is some stigma when we mention Jackie Opel to Spouge, and we have an old generation trying to push it, and that's where the stigma lies. So let's get something in place in terms of development of a dance to show that the music develop, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Final note, in examining Dr. Watson's work, Jamaica actually published in their newspapers the steps to dance to ska. She'd found in the Gleaner, Mr. Marshall, a small thing with 4 captions: how you start ska, how you move to ska, how you do like this, if anyone knows ska, and so it was in the newspaper. It's an interesting challenge about the dance, and she wrestled with that. But I danced my head off to the Spouge tonight out there. So whether or not we need a designated dance to say this is the Spouge dance, I don't know. It's been something that I've seen the arguments over the decades. Folks, the time is nigh. I am handing back over to Mr. Dungs, who I named Nurse, and I was told we have some wine and nibbles outside.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to make one comment because our esteemed minister, she wants to wrap up, so I'll allow her to wrap up, but I'll make one comment. Based on what I've heard tonight, and based on what I've read about the contribution that Jackie Opel made to Spouge, not only in Barbados, in the Caribbean, but beyond. I think it is time that we establish the Jackie Opel Memorial Music Scholarship. And not just a 1 year or 2 year scholarship, but a full 4 year scholarship, attainable at one of the top music universities worldwide, either in the UK, US, Canada, or Australia. Right? Or KFL. Okay. But it should be a full 4 year scholarship, Jackie Opel Memorial Music Scholarship. At KFL, or? So, with that, I pass the mic over to our esteemed minister, and she will wrap up.
Thank you. I'm not going to keep you long. Just a couple of points for me. I do want to ask you just to give a round of applause to the National Library Service. That how this event, we've been in the Division of Culture talking about reimagining the National Library Service and just making sure that it's fit for purpose. This is the second discussion that I've been here with the National Library Service. The first one in the context of looking at Black entrepreneurship. And we also talked about some of those sociocultural and structural issues that prevented the emergence of Black businesses. And therefore, for me, tonight's discussion, for me and to John, and also as well to the director, certainly suggests to me that the National Library Service has got it right in terms of looking at the very fundamental and hard conversations that are about moving the society forward. And I think, well done, well done to you. Secondly, as well, of course, to the esteemed panel, thank you so very much. The contributions were rich. You know, very often we have these discussions that they don't touch the surface. We like to sing Kumbaya a lot, right, and talk about, you know, good and feel good. But it was refreshing to be able to make sure that we actually really dug underneath the surface and really ask ourselves and pinpoint the very hard questions. So thank you all so very much for your thoughtful contributions as well. And then to you, the audience, I know that there were perhaps many questions and many comments that you wanted to make, and you didn't get an opportunity to do so. But certainly for those of you who did, it really kind of reinforced that we need to have more conversations such as this. There is such a richness that I think that we are doing ourselves a general disservice. Just in terms of talking about our cultural arts and our cultural heritage. That certainly for me is one of the things that we need to do, is to have more of these conversations, to hear these stories. And there are three practical things. I think that there have been a lot that we've said, and certainly a lot of food here, but certainly there's always value in just having conversations and pulling people together. And I think one of the things that we need is more intergenerational dialogue. Yeah? In order to be able to share stories. Whether or not we walk away agreeing or disagreeing, that's not the point, but just at least to be able to hear and to be able to listen. So thank you all very much for coming out, for listening, and for sharing in the dialogue. And I invite you to have some refreshments with us. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Get home safely. Stop outside and nibble and drink. Thank you.